All right. So the first one was Patrick Smith. He says, I was brought up in SEO hearing that citations and backlinks were the best ways to assess how competitive a niche is, since that was all you had to do besides a solid site to rank. Since that is obviously not true, what exactly should I look for when assessing a niche for something like lead gen? That's a good question. Obviously backlinks and citations play a role, but when you're talking about local stuff too, especially when you're talking about GMB stuff now, remember proximity is a big issue, which is specifically what Local Lease Pro was all about, was finding a way to kind of a way to get GMB assets verified for exact locations that you wanted to get leads from, right? So that we were basically playing with the proximity issue as opposed to fighting it, right? By just getting more GMBs. But that's not really, I mean, although I do understand that it's apparently the Google wrath may be over when it comes to suspending GMBs. At least that's what I'm hearing. I'm not going to confirm that, but that's what I'm hearing. So it may be that we're going to be able to start doing that again soon. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I think Marco would be better at just explaining this, which is what he started to do in the thread anyways. But there's a lot of things that you can look at. I don't look at third-party metrics that much anymore. They can certainly play a role, but looking at the number of citations or the number of backlinks or the quality of backlinks isn't necessarily going to mean that you going to determine your competitive level. Because if you have your entity correct, which is what we've been teaching, right? And Marco can talk more about this, but if you have your entity correct and your on-page type, you can outrank many different competitors that might have a shit ton of backlinks, but they don't have their entity right, or they have an ambiguated entity. In other words, there's some sort of vagueness about the entity. So you can come in with a fraction of any off-page work and outrank it. And again, like Marco points out in his thread, if you look at what Jeffrey Smith has been able to do with strictly on-page and developing the entities correctly, he can outrank massive authority sites with no backlinks. And it's all because he knows how to do that. So Marco, what would you say about that?
I would say exactly that. And like, okay, so we could at Semantic Mastery teach an on-page SEO course and siloing and interlinking and everything else. But we have Jeffrey Smith, and I hate reinventing the wheel. And what I would do is go and try to copy what he did, because to me, he's the master at this. I mean, well, why would I go and try to outdo the master unless I could? In which case, I'd go and tell him, hey, Jeffrey, which we often do, try this and see how that does with whatever it is that you're doing, and then get back to me, or just whatever we can think of. But in these terms, it's the wheel is already invented, and nobody has come up with anything better. There's nothing better than SEO Ultimate Boot Camp as far as doing your market research, right, the top level categories, and how to determine top level categories, how to find them, and then the supporting, and then everything else that you need to do in order to do what it is that Jeffrey does, which is, as you said, outrank others with just the way that he sets up his websites. And it's just, of course, the training of it is lesson intensive, and there is a learning curve, and he goes into some terms that you really have to think about. But having said that, dude, nothing beats what Jeffrey has done. I wouldn't even try. I don't care to try, because most of the stuff that I do is off page anyway. So this is a perfect complement to what we do off page.
Yeah, I would agree that what Jeffrey has been able to, or his course his on-page course, SEO Boot Camp, it's fabulous, guys. It's incredible what, that's why we didn't end up ever creating an on-page course, because there was no reason to try to compete with what Jeffrey put together. It's fabulous. So we've just been promoting his ever since ever since we saw it. So I would highly recommend you do that, because again, if you have your on-page right and your entity information correct, you can outrank with a fraction of the off-page stuff. You can outrank, even fierce competitors. And so that's the important thing. And then if you're using the entity, the SEO shield, which is like your entity loop, right? So all of that stuff you create this entity and you have all of your tier 1 branded entity assets and you use those as your SEO shield, then you can just hammer that stuff with our link building packages from MGYB. And even though your money site won't show backlinks like your competitors do because you're not building directly to your money site, you'll still outrank them. Does that make sense? And that's why looking at those third-party tools for number of citations and for backlinks, backlink analysis doesn't necessarily mean anything, because you can end up outranking them with only a mere fraction of what those numbers are showing, because you're doing all of your external SEO to your SEO shield as opposed directly to your money site. If that makes sense. So,
I talked about what Dedia shared in the mastermind, and in RYS Academy. I think he shared it there too, where he's doing a case study on it's something in e-commerce. I can't say the niche, right? You know how people are, and this is a client of his. But I mean, for a fraction of the money that these big players in the industry are paying for marketing, he's able to go in there and to just take clients away, take money away from these people who are spending not hundreds of thousands a month, maybe millions a month for this niche. So you were talking about Amazon, Lowe's, Walmart, you name it. They're in this space, and he's in there. He's in there fighting it out, and eventually he'll be able to practically own the niche, which is incredible. For $1,200, when you can do it for $1,200, go in there and compete for your top level category. I don't know anything else that you could do to match that. Add to that the entity, like the branding course that Brad did, where you do the paid ads and you send traffic, targeted traffic that's niche specific and hyper targeted to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's local or whether it's for your brand. And that's money. It's money in the bank. I think Patrick is in the mastermind, isn't he? No. He said he plans to be. But you should be in the mastermind, because all of these things are available in the mastermind. How it's done, the how is in the mastermind.
Yeah.